Hi, folks. I'm going to get started here. To begin, thank you so much for joining us for our live student panel and for sticking around this late into the afternoon for MSU Friday. We so appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about our campus. Obviously, we wish that we could welcome you in person, but I'm so glad that you still are able to connect with our students virtually. To get started, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Shannon. I'm an admissions counselor here at MSU. I might be a friendly face for a lot of you. In my role, I travel across the country. I visit different high schools. I'm the one at all of the college fairs, and I do get the pleasure of welcoming students to campus when they do have the opportunity to join us. I was an in-state student here at MSU. I am from Missoula, Montana, and I graduated just about 4 years ago now with a degree in education and psychology. I did include my contact information up there as well. If you guys have ongoing questions after today, I'm truly happy to help. So you can always reach out to us via email or via phone. We want to make sure that you get all of the answers to the questions that you have. Speaking of questions, I am going to allow our student panel to begin here in just a few moments. Today's panel is really about the student experience. So we want you to start chatting in those questions that you have about what it's like to live in a residence hall or a particular major. We really want to be able to share some of those experiences with you today. We are going to be able to answer those questions as we go throughout the chat feature, and then we're going to answer some of the biggest ones that we continue to get allowed here today. To start, I'm going to welcome my students to introduce themselves, and we are going to begin with Spencer. So Spencer, if you're on the line, you want to give them a rundown of who you are.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Spencer Johnson. I am a recent graduate. So in May, I went from a student to a graduate. It's kind of a cool experience. And I was super happy that Shannon in the admissions office asked me to come back and do one more student panel. As you can see on the screen, I'm from Kalispell, Montana. So it's right by Glacier National Park. And as you can see in the pictures, I love to be outside, and definitely one of the reasons why I went to MSU. And I studied chemical engineering, and I was also in the honors college. So I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding anything close to either of those programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Spencer. All right, moving along, Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm Msu Dean. I am a senior here studying sociology. I'm originally from Bozeman, so I like to think I have a little bit of a local's perspective on campus and student life here. I'm also involved in quite a few places on campus, so the admissions office. I'm part of the HEART Initiative, which is an anti-human trafficking club on campus, and I'm also a member of the Honors College, so a few different resources there that hopefully I can answer some questions about.
Perfect. Thanks, Emma. All right, Charlie, if you're on the line.
Hey, everyone. My name is Charlie Tadlock. As you can see there on the screen, I'm from Seattle, Washington originally. I'm a senior. I'm graduating this December, so one more semester left to go. Studying photography, so if you have any questions about arts or architecture, I can help to answer those. I do a ton of stuff with admissions. I work for Adobe on campus. I'm a teaching assistant, so a bunch of involvement there.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. And then lastly, Rebecca.
Hey guys, I'm Rebecca. So I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado. So we're an out-of-state student, so I can bring that perspective there. I'm going into my senior year here at MSU. So I just finished my junior year. I'm studying food and nutrition dietetics and have really been involved as an orientation leader. And I've also done an internship with the athletic department through MSU with a sport dietitian. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So at this time, we are going to encourage you guys to chat in those questions. To begin, we are going to ask some of our students kind of a broad question, if you will. And while we're not talking to Charlie, if you don't mind muting your mic. Just so
I'm sorry.
You're doing great. Awesome. So to start, the question is, what was your experience like living on campus? Did you request a roommate? What was that experience like for you? To start, Spencer, why don't you kind of jump in and give a little bit of your perspective, and then maybe Charlie, you can follow up as well.
Perfect. So I lived in the residence hall my freshman year. I started out in South Hedges Residence Hall, and it was an awesome experience. For anyone that's a little worried about living like close to other people and like sharing a bathroom, I can tell you it was one of the most fun things I ever did. I ended up living in a loft room, and I don't know if those are available still, but it's a room that has 5 people in it. I knew 2 of them from my hometown, and then 2 of them were completely random. And so it was a little different, like knowing 2 of them really well and not knowing the other 2 at all. But we are still really good friends. I actually ended up living with all of them all 4 years. So definitely you're going to make friends. I made some great friends, and I think across the board you're going to find that.
So I lived in South Hedges as well, my freshman year. So unfortunately, you picked the 2 South Hedges people. But I lived in South Hedges. I had a bit of a different experience. I lived in a single room, so I didn't have any roommates. I was pretty nervous coming into MSU about the residence hall experience. I've always kind of been a solo flyer, so that was kind of a nerve-wracking experience, but I'm so glad I did. I lived on the arts floor, so there's specific floors throughout the residence halls that are designated for certain majors or certain involvements, and those are really great opportunities. I still speak to most of the people that I lived with on my floor. I have classes with them, so that's a really great way to kind of instantly get involved if you're interested in that.
Awesome. Kind of moving into a little bit more about involvement. These are for students that are extremely involved on campus. So the question is, how easy is it to get involved in clubs and activities? And kind of a follow-up to that, when you're getting involved, how do you balance that with your schoolwork? How do you kind of find that happy medium? Emma, you're extremely involved in campus, so I'm gonna pose you with this one if you kind of want to jump in first.
Yeah, so my experience with clubs, the major club that I'm involved in is the Heart Initiative. I was pretty lucky in that I found quite a few clubs that really correlated with my major quite well. And so as a sociology major, I was looking for humanities-based clubs, social justice-based clubs. There's obviously going to be those clubs for every academic area on campus. But so especially with balancing schoolwork and clubs and activities, I actually kind of just incorporated them all together. I did an independent study that incorporated the work I was doing in the club with some of my coursework as well. So that's definitely a great thing, especially if you find something that really ties into your academics pretty well. And it's also really easy to find clubs on campus. Oftentimes students will come into the classroom the first few weeks of semester, give presentations about activities on campus. We also have Catapalooza during the first week of fall semester, and that's a great way to get involved as well.
Awesome. Does anyone else kind of want to follow up there? Is there anything that anyone else would like to add to that? Yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
I think just with clubs, MSU offers so many different kinds of clubs. So going to Catapalooza or things like that, just based on your school schedule or how you lay out your classes, there's so many different clubs that meet at different times. So if you're more available on a day rather than another, there's definitely ways you can like work around that and just get just as involved as like any other day. So
Great. One of the questions that we get pretty frequently here on campus is regarding parking. So I'm curious if you have some insight as to what parking is like on campus, if some of you brought a car, if some of you prefer to bike or take the bus. I know Spencer has kind of both sides of that, so why don't we start with him?
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't have a car my freshman year, so I relied wholly on the Streamline bus, which is the local bus in town, my bike, and then my 2 feet. And I found that to be just fine to get around Bozeman. After I moved off campus, I started to use the other means a little bit more. So I did have a car my sophomore through senior year, which made it if I needed to go somewhere, I had it. But I took the bus all the time. I love the Streamline bus. I think it's awesome. It goes pretty much everywhere you want to go. I lived really close to one of the lines, but if you wanted to go to the grocery store or downtown, it had different lines that'll take you there. It runs kind of like the L in Chicago. It's based off like color. That's where the routes go. And there's a map online, and it'll tell you like the exact time that it's supposed to get to each stop. So I think that's a great way to get around. When I did drive my car, I personally didn't think it was that bad. I got just one of the general Bobcat student lots. That's where most students choose to park. And I never had an issue. Obviously, it's dealer's choice there, but my experience, I never had an issue.
Great. Moving on here, we've gotten a few questions about what it's like to be an out-of-state student. So I'm actually going to start with Charlie to kind of speak to the out-of-state experience, and then maybe Rebecca, if you want to follow up there.
Sure. So, yeah, like I said, I'm out of state. I'm from Seattle, Washington originally. Coming to MSU was definitely a transition for me. I'm from the heart of Seattle, so I was coming from a city of 800,000 to a city of 60,000 on a good day. So that was definitely a transition. And I almost felt that more than I felt weird for being out of state. Our student body is about 50-50 in state, out of state. So, you know, you're gonna get people from where you are. I knew a couple people who came from my high school. Our top feeder states are Washington and Colorado still, I think. So not that weird of a transition.
Yeah, Rebecca, if you want to follow up a little bit.
Yeah, so again, I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, so again, another very popular state to come from, but I also didn't know anyone coming to college, so I was definitely like a little bit nervous for that, but also really excited. One thing that stood out to me about MSU visiting is that people were just so welcoming and wanted to get to know you, and just wanting their students get involved as well. So just coming to college, I just felt really welcomed. Also with Catapalooza and all the events that goes with dorms, I just got to meet so many people so quickly, and so I can just say that I have some of the greatest friends now that I've met in college, and I just feel really blessed to say that. So.
Yeah, and I will actually pose that same question to Emma as well, if you kind of want to highlight the in-state experience, if you already had a ton of friends, if you made friends here, what that transition looked like for you, especially coming in from Bozeman, because we're in your hometown.
Yeah, so I think there's a certain stereotype when it comes to Montana students that you're just coming to like high school 2.0, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You're going to obviously have a lot of other in-state students. Like Charlie said, it is 50-50. So you're likely to know 1 or 10 people coming here. However, you're also going to meet so many students from across the world, quite literally. A lot of my friends are coming from out of state. I've also had a lot of classes with students who, like I took an Arabic class my freshman year, and there were students from Saudi Arabia who are coming in as TAs. So you're really going to find that there are going to be students from everywhere intermingled into your classes, into your clubs. And there's nothing wrong with staying friends with high school friends if you are coming from Montana or even from out of state and you're coming with some high school folks as well. But it's really nice because you do have that opportunity to branch out as well.
Excellent. And to kind of give some background there for folks too, Montana is our top feeder state, and then it's followed by Washington, Colorado, California, Minnesota, Oregon, Idaho, Alaska, Illinois. I think I got almost 10 of those there, so kind of gives you a little bit of background. Kind of going off on that though, one of the questions was, how is the weather? Maybe for some of you coming from out of state, was it a transition? What do you like to do during certain times of the year? Spencer, you're a big skier. So do you want to start talking a little bit about that? And then maybe Rebecca, if you want to give that perspective as well.
Yeah, it would be weird to me if there wasn't any snow at like the end of the year. So I personally enjoy it. And like Shannon said, you can usually catch me at Bridger Bowl on the weekends. I don't think it's that bad. Bozeman's great because it's way sunnier than where I'm from in Montana. So at least I can enjoy the sun, even if it's pretty chilly out there. You know what you're getting into, though. You're coming to Montana. We have 4 seasons, but sometimes one of them is a little bit longer, it seems like, than the rest. But you'll always find something really fun to do. So like when it's nice out, hiking, biking, fishing, like you're kind of in one of the best places in the world for it. And then when the little white stuff's out there too, there's lots of fun things. So don't be discouraged. If you haven't tried it, definitely go for it. At least try just to be part of the culture a little bit in Bozeman. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. My job is in Southern California, and so I'm definitely bracing myself for like a constant sun. And I don't know if I'm ready for it yet. So I'll miss the weather here for sure.
Yeah, just to go off of that in regards to winter, I also love to ski, so definitely find me at Bridger Bowl, but I also love to ice skate, which is kind of a new one. So also around Bozeman's a lot of just like skating places to go, just in parks, which is just super fun and unique about Bozeman. MSU also has an outdoor rec center, so if you're interested in skiing but don't have like the equipment to do so, you can rent things like that there, or snowshoes. Different things like along that line. So whatever you're interested in doing, whether that's winter, summer, anything in between, there's like so many things that you can get yourself involved in, no matter like what you're interested in. And like the unique thing about college is that it's so readily available in Bozeman and with MSU. So definitely encourage you guys as incoming students, and hopefully see you here, but to get involved and do things like that. So.
Awesome. The next question I'm going to pose to Emma. Have you worked while in school? I'm a little bit nervous about being able to go home on breaks or some of the benefits there. I'm going to ask Emma this one because she actually works in our office, so I know she's employed on campus.
Yeah, so I've worked a variety of jobs on campus. My favorite one is with the admissions office, but I work as a student rep and also covering lunch shifts and stuff like that in the front office. So what's really great about working on campus is that it's super flexible. They know that you're a student first and that you're a student worker second. And so everything is based around your student schedule. So when I have free times in between classes, I'm able to pop over to the office and maybe do a rep meeting or help with organizational stuff or going through packets, whatever it may be. So there's definitely a lot of options for that. But even on like a smaller scale side, a lot of professors are always looking for like graders. So if you're just looking to like go through and grade some tests, you can make some money there as a student worker, but it's way less hours, maybe an hour or two a week, which is really nice too. So there's a lot of options for students. And again, they're always focused on the fact that it's based on your schedule and what works best for you.
Yeah, and I'll kind of follow up on that point too and point out that a lot of students specifically ask us about work study opportunities, and you can still be employed on campus even if you don't necessarily qualify for work study through the Office of Financial Aid. So huge opportunities to work at the coffee shop, work in athletics, work in a research lab, can definitely get your hours in. For this next one, I'm going to have Charlie answer, and then we can see if anyone else wants to add anything. The question is there any free tutoring available? What other help centers are on campus, especially if I just have a simple question or want to pop in and get some help?
Sure. So we do have free tutoring available for drop-in situations, exactly like you're describing. You just have a quick question and you need a quick answer. We've got 6 different help centers on campus: math, physics, chemistry, writing, engineering, mechanics, and one other that I'm forgetting right now. And those are all free and just available for drop-in. So if you just have a quick question and you need just a quick answer, that's perfect. We also do have kind of more individualized one-on-one tutoring. It's $2 an hour, so it's pretty heavily subsidized, makes it pretty cheap for you as a student. It's really great.
Does anyone want to follow up with any additional services or resources that they utilize on campus? Well, I'll point out we have a lot of different resources on campus, whether that be for student employment, financial education, the Office of Student Engagement, tutoring. We could go on and on. I really think that one of my biggest pieces of advice for students is that we have all of these resources available. It's just making sure that you take advantage of those resources and ask for help when you need it. But don't be afraid to ask for help. That's a learning experience that you have in college. To kind of go along with that additional support service there, we've gotten some questions about what advising looks like on campus and what that relationship has done for you as students. Rebecca, do you want to speak to that a little bit? And then maybe Spencer can jump in a little bit on the engineering side of things.
Yeah, so starting at MSU and as you continue as a student at MSU, each semester you're required to meet with an advisor just to talk over courses that you're interested in taking and required to take for your major. This provides just a great like one-on-one just to get to know your advisor, to have that personal interaction, and also just help to design a course schedule along what you're interested in, but also keep you on track for your degree. So coming to MSU, I just felt like more than a number, more than just assigned classes. Like there's definitely guidelines and classes you need to take, but I just felt like I could give my input to that. So I've just had great experience with advising. Also, if you're uncertain about your major, we also have university studies, and you can just pop in there anytime to meet with an advisor just to talk about different degrees, courses, and different classes like that. So that's been my experience.
Yeah, I've had great experiences as well with my advising. One of the reasons why I'm a chemical engineer is because I spoke with the chemical and biological engineering department advisor, and she's about 4 feet tall, really feisty lady, and she was like, "No, you should not be a civil engineer. You should be a chemical engineer." And that's kind of how I ended up in the program. Nothing to say that like civil engineering was bad. I just went and talked to her. I was kind of leaning in between the two, and she definitely convinced me to fall on the chemical side. And then also like within the dean's office of all the different academic colleges, they have lots of resources. So general questions along like general like engineering lines, I've definitely gone in and chatted with the dean's office, but also with just in my own department. And then I've noticed a lot of the different like larger departments on campus and even some of the smaller ones have gone into individual advising. So I was one of the student officers for the chemical engineering club, which is called AICHE. And we actually started to make our own chemical engineering specific advising that matched upper level students with lower level students in terms of grade, like where they're at in school, and just had some really good student advising. And so that's another great piece because like I remember I met with one of the freshmen and I was like, hey, like this is, I think my experience, I think it would help you out. And I think it becomes beneficial when you hear it from an administrator in addition to someone who's has gone through the program and is still in the program.
Thank you. All right, so this next one, I want you guys to keep super short. Just give me a few words or a few things that come to mind. I'm going to ask all of you, how would you describe students at MSU? Emma, do you want to start?
Sure. Just a couple words. I would say a lot of folks are really outdoorsy, which is always fun. Very involved, very excited about learning, and excited about using their learning for something greater. So getting involved in clubs, activities in the community as well.
Charlie, do you want to follow up?
I would say overall, just really welcoming. We're a big family on campus. That was the first kind of impression I had when I walked onto campus. Is like, all right, I'm part of this now, I guess. They just kind of take you in and hit the ground running. So that's pretty awesome.
Rebecca, and then we can end that question with Spencer.
Yeah, I just agree with welcoming and friendly and just outgoing and just diverse too. Everybody has their own place in a unique way, but just can come together as a big family too.
All right, when you come to MSU, you're going to hear the fight song. We got the Vim. We're here to win. VIM. MSU has a lot of Vim. You should look it up, and better yet, you should just come experience the Vim on campus.
You can tell that we've paid Spencer to be a student rep for a little while. Awesome. So I'm going to pose this next question to Emma and then Spencer. How does your experience in the Honors College different than maybe some of the other classes or other opportunities on campus?
So I think what's really unique about Spencer and I's experience is that I'm coming from a humanities perspective and he's coming from a STEM perspective. So we'll be able to give you a little bit of both sides there. Personally, what I really was interested in with the Honors College was the seminar options and the interdisciplinary learning. I love my sociology courses, but it's really exciting to meet with students from all areas of campus and have that option to really understand where their thinking comes from or what their ideas might be. And so that's been the best part of the Honors College, is that you do get to take perhaps a bit more fast-paced courses, but you're also able to take really interesting and unique courses. Spencer and I were actually in a class together called Design Thinking for Our Community, and we helped solve problems in our community. I worked with a local elementary school. He worked with a fishing company here in Bozeman. So there's a lot of options there to meet a lot of students and also take like really wild and unique courses, like anything from like Death Becomes Us, where we talk about our mortality, to like art and medicine, to music. There's something for everyone, which I love.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that class up. And I was going to say, Emma and I actually were in that class together, and it was super fun. Coming as a STEM student, I think it's really nice because I'm used to calculator, engineering paper, lots of weird symbols that go into math somehow. And then I get to go to some of my honors classes and talk about, yeah, like mortality or issues that are facing our society right now. And so I think it gives you a really good perspective, definitely makes you a much more well-rounded student. And you're also around people who are just extremely interesting. They're really motivated in their academics, but also how what they're learning is affecting the world outside of them. And so I think it's just that combination, whether it's the people that you're meeting, the interesting speakers and events you get to go to, in addition to the really awesome courses you're able to take. I would say if you're at all interested in honors, at least try it out. There's no harm in saying, hey, this isn't for me, or, starting a year not in the honors college and being like, I've totally figured this college thing out. Let's give it a try. I like either way you fall on that, definitely try it. It's been nothing but an awesome experience for me. And I know just some of the experiences that I've been able to talk about in job interviews and whatnot have really helped me from the honors college. So I'm a big advocate for it.
Thank you guys so much. This next one, I'm going to ask you guys to kind of raise your hand if you want to add in some different answers. How have you made school affordable, and how have you maybe kind of paid off your tuition or paid off your fees as you go? Does anyone in particular want to start with that question? Emma?
So being an in-state student automatically means it is a bit more affordable. So that was definitely something I had in mind when choosing MSU. But beyond that, the biggest thing I can recommend is apply for scholarships. The main scholarship platform we have is CAT Scholarships, which is a general form you fill out and you're automatically applied to all of the scholarships within your department and within MSU for like general scholarships. So that's been a really great resource. And I know a lot of students who have ended up getting more aid the farther along they are in their college career than they started off with. So even if you don't have a ton of scholarships your freshman year, by your senior year, you could have like half your tuition paid. Like I have heard of that before. So there's definitely a lot of options. And that's been my biggest resource for scholarships and things like that.
Perfect. This next question, we're going to ask both Charlie and then Rebecca, if you want to follow up. What advice would you give to freshmen to make the most out of their experience at MSU? So what advice do you commonly tell students maybe when they visit campus or when they're looking at MSU?
The biggest piece of advice that I like to give students is to try as much as possible, do as much as you can. If somebody asks if you want to go skiing at Bridger Bowl this weekend, say yes. If they ask if you want to come check out a new club, say yes. It might not be for you, and that's fine, but at least you did it. You would have never known if you hadn't done it. I wish I had done so much more my freshman year. I'm coming up in my senior year, and I've still never been skiing, and I'll probably be moving back to Seattle, and there's not a ton of skiing close by. So do as much as you possibly can, say yes to as much as you possibly can, meet as many new people as you can. It's the key is really to just say yes.
Yeah, I really agree with Charlie, and I just think this is such a unique time in our lives and such a unique opportunity to try so many different things. So I think just getting outside your comfort zone is such a key thing. And yeah, that you tried it, and if you don't like it, then then. And if you do like it, it's so fun to like find something new that you enjoy doing or people you enjoy being with. So yeah, I just encourage you guys to get outside your comfort zone, to say hi to people you don't know, to go talk to professors and just make those interactions. So that would be my answer.
Great. All right, this next one I'm going to pose to all of you. So I just want you to think of a quick example or a quick class or opportunity. We got asked what it looks like to have hands-on learning in particular different settings, and all of you are in various different majors. So Rebecca, do you want to start by telling us a little bit about your experience in health and human development?
Yeah, so in health and human development, so I'm studying nutrition and dietetics. This course, or I guess this degree, has really given me a lot of courses to be hands-on. That looks like being in anatomy labs where I get to see an actual cadaver. So such hands-on like experience to be able to do that. Also in like OChem labs and organic chemistry, I should say the whole name. But also with internships, like I got to be working with the athletic department with a sport dietitian. So that just gave me such a great perspective on what that field looks like in the real world. So I've just had such great experiences, whether that's in the classroom or like what it looks like to be an actual dietitian with a sport team. So.
Charlie, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so as an art student, I would say I spend 80 to 90% of my time in the studio, in the lab, working hands-on. A lecture is a rarity for me, so maybe I have a little bit of a skewed perspective. The lectures are the weird classes in my department. But I mean, that also just gives you kind of a perspective of what hands-on learning looks like at MSU and how ingrained it is in our community. We spend so much of our time not just learning the material, but then applying the material. So whatever that means, if that's for classes or like Rebecca said, if that's an internship or a summer job or something like that, we really encourage that.
Spencer, do you want to go next, and then we can end this question with Emma?
Sure. So as an engineer, it's not enough just to be able to design the product that you're making, but you want to actually see what that design is going to be. And so that's one of the reasons I really like the College of Engineering here, whether it's teaming up in a junior level class with all the other types of engineers to make all the components of a car, the fuel, the body, the road, and the circuitry that powers it, or getting to go to industrial partners like breweries or production facilities around the area and seeing what, per se, a chemical engineer would actually do on a day-to-day basis. You really get to see both kind of learn all this awesome stuff, have a great program, and also see what that program is going to lead to. And it's one of the things I've really enjoyed here at MSU.
I think sociology might be a bit of an outlier in terms of some of these other programs. Obviously, there's not a ton of opportunity to do hands-on learning when you're learning about like all of human society. But there are a lot of options for like hands-on learning when it comes to like discussions. A lot of our classes are based on readings and things like that, but then we do our reading and then we have a class discussion that leads to a lot of like debate or curiosity. And so even if we aren't like physically creating anything, there's a lot of options to do research and to have a like hands-on learning classroom space just by being a really active participant.
Awesome. Perfect. So this next one is a question a little bit more about our area and the community itself. The question is, what are some of your favorite things about Bozeman? What is camping like? What is hiking like? What is the outdoor rec? What is the feeling of the town itself? Spencer, do you want to start a little bit?
Yeah, so I alluded to this earlier, but if you're at all interested in being outside, like you're coming to an awesome place. It really has something for everyone and every interest in terms of outdoorsy stuff. And if you're interested in something but never tried it, the Outdoor Rec Center has been brought up, and I highly recommend that. If it's just to be like, I want to catch this type of fish, where do I go? Or I have no idea how to use an avalanche beacon. Can you show me how to use it? Those questions can all be answered really easily. It's just a great resource. And then I would also say, like, as someone who really enjoys being outside, one of the things I've loved about Bozeman is all the fun things you can find within the town. So the main street is just an awesome pop of culture. There's always great music, food. We just got some really good restaurants pop up. So I definitely recommend you trying it out when you can come visit. But just the town is awesome. I've really enjoyed it. I'm no longer in Bozeman right now, and it makes me very sad. I definitely miss it, and I'm actively planning trips back to it. So it's just a great area, a great place to go to college. I think everyone can find something they'll really enjoy about it.
Perfect. Charlie, do you want to kind of follow up on some of your favorite things in Bozeman as well, kind of as an out-of-state student, maybe what that experience looked like for you?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of my favorite things around Bozeman are downtown. I really love hanging out on Main Street, especially, like I said, as a city kid, having a Main Street is so cool to me. That's I know that makes me sound like such a city kid, but it's so neat to me. So just being able to see all those local things. I think also a lot of my favorite things in town have to do with the art scene. We've got a really vibrant art scene, so whether that's concerts or shows or galleries or anything like that, that's a really great way to kind of get out there.
Perfect. I really appreciate this next question. It says, can you kind of discuss what resources are on campus to support student mental health? I think that's been a huge growing topic for our students and something to really consider. Does anyone in particular want to kind of jump in and talk a little bit about some support services for mental health on campus? Volunteer Spencer. Looks like he's unmuting himself.
All right. Yeah, I'll let Emma take the other half of this, but I really think they've done a really good job of offering a lot of services, whether it's through counseling and psychological services, which is right on campus. You don't have to go off campus at all to find those resources. Having a lot of advisors and people you can talk to, really active student engagement office that provides a lot of opportunities, whether it's housing, food, financial insecurities, all of that, really finding ways to remedy that. And then in addition, we're in the midst of kind of a new like student wellness building, and it's been really neat to be a part of some of those conversations as a student and having my input from the stresses of being a college student be actively applied into the building of this new center. So I'll let Emma take the rest of it from here.
Just kind of add on to that a little bit, what I've noticed, at least in my experience, is that a lot of professors will provide those resources at the start of a semester. So like depending whether that class is like one of my sociology classes, which might have more sensitive topics, or anything to like just a fun class, usually those professors will offer all of those resources, provide phone numbers, helplines. We have things like the Voice Center on campus, which is a really useful resource. So all of those are made available for students, and you're very well informed about where they're located on campus and how to get in contact with them.
Thank you guys for adding to that. This next question I'm going to pose for Spencer because he has a great answer. What was the biggest struggle for you transitioning from high school to college, and what are some of the things that MSU has done to help ease that transition?
Yeah, so I think this is the one I give like every once in a while, but it is really impactful, even though I've used it multiple times. So I think coming in as an engineer and just a college student in general, you get a little bit of imposter syndrome because you may come from small town or whatever, and now you have all these people around you. And especially in engineering, it's like, I was a pretty high achieving high school student, but now you're in a room of all high achieving high school students. And how do you fit into that? How does that dynamic change? And it was a little rough. It was tough. In addition to the fact that I love my parents to death, but they definitely babied me. I was one of those kids who did not know how to do laundry when I got to Bozeman in the fall of my freshman year. So having to just figure out how to be an adult, number one, and then also how do I become this chemical engineer that I'm supposed to be at the end of 4 years. And so through my classes, the awesome advisors and professors that I've gotten to have great relationships with, the opportunities to do internships and now have a job starting in about a month, being a chemical engineer and realizing that the point that I was started at and the point I'm now at were all kind of a big journey that was helped along with from the university. So I do know how to do laundry now. I can safely say that, although I'm sure it's still not up to my mom's par. And I am a chemical engineer, or will be pretty soon. So it's kind of neat to see that journey from a personal perspective.
Thank you. This next question I'll ask maybe Rebecca and then Charlie if you want to answer. If one thing sold you about MSU, what was it?
I think just the Bobcat family and just how welcoming people were. I think I visited a lot of schools, I think up towards 10. So just got to see a variety of campuses and universities, and just coming to MSU, I just felt welcomed and known and cared about as more than just a student, but as a person too. And so I think I was just sold there. And also, I just love the size of Bozeman and MSU. It's not too big, it's not too small. I just think it's great. So.
I was gonna say almost the same thing, so I'll come up with something different. But yeah, no, I'm just gonna stick with that. With what I was gonna say, I was gonna say the people. The people are really what sold me on MSU. I came to visit after, like Rebecca, a long college search process. And MSU was almost the only out-of-state school that I looked at. I was really pretty much planning to stay in Washington. And then I came to campus, and what was supposed to just be a tour turned into 2 days of sitting in on classes, going to lunch with my department head, or getting invited to lunch with my department head, sitting in on an equipment demo. And that just that sold me. The fact that, my major and the people here were just so willing to be like, all right, you're interested, let's do it.
Awesome. And I will kind of follow up with both of their comments too. We do a survey every single year as to why students choose MSU, and the number one answer is the people. So I think that kind of carries itself through all of the conversations that we have. All right, this next question, maybe I'll ask Emma and then Rebecca. What is your favorite thing to do on the weekends? How do you spend your time?
I think it largely depends on the season. In the winter, usually like to spend my weekends out skiing in the outdoors. Then in the summer, I really like to spend them climbing. But beyond just doing outdoor activities, I also just love hanging out around Bozeman. Like last night, I went up to a little sunset spot and just watched the sunset and ate some ice cream, which was pretty nice. Or I'll like go to different events at like the Ellen, which is a local theater here, and they have like free movie nights, or just like walk around downtown and people watch, all of that. So do a little bit of everything depending on how sunny it is outside.
Yeah, I totally agree with Emma. It definitely depends on the season, but just love to be outdoors, whether that's going to just watch the sunset or going for a hike or going skiing. I also love coffee shops, and I think I just love how many Bozeman has. So if I just go study or do some schoolwork or just go hang out, I love to hang out with friends. And I think also just Bozeman in general offers so many different fun activities to do, whether that's music on Main in the summertime or just also farmers markets or the Christmas stroll. So I just love to do a little bit of it all.
Thanks. I will totally echo Rebecca that our coffee shops and breakfast and brunch, stellar in Bozeman. That is like the number one thing to do on the weekends, is get brunch with your friends. All right, we are kind of coming to a close here and at the end of our time. So I like to end every single student panel with the same two questions. We got this question from a parent during a actual on-campus MSU Friday, and I have carried it through every single student panel that we've hosted. I want every single student to go around and tell us their biggest challenge that they've had here at MSU and their biggest win so far. Rebecca, do you mind starting?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge was learning how to ask for help. I think it is a transition sometimes coming from high school to college. And I think I just had to learn that it is perfectly fine and okay and encouraged to ask for help. And especially with all the resources MSU provides, it's like that's what they're there for, and they want to help students. And so I think that was also just a win too. And also just, I guess, building my confidence, one, as a student in my degree, but also as like a person, that when I started college to where I hopefully am ending college in the spring 2021, is just, I can just see so much growth there. So I think that's also just such a win in my book. So.
Emma, do you want to follow up your biggest challenge and your biggest win?
I think my biggest challenge actually surrounded being a student from Bozeman. I think I kind of came into MSU being like, yeah, it's like my hometown, like whatever. And I think I definitely had a lot of struggles with like making friends or really stepping out of my comfort zone because I was in my comfort zone. And so I think that was the biggest thing that I learned, especially my sophomore year on, like Charlie said, to just say yes to things and to still put myself out there. Like, just because I'm from here doesn't mean I don't get to have the same college experience as everyone else. And so I just need to be more willing to step out of my comfort zone. And then I think my biggest win was finding something that I was really passionate about in my academic area. I absolutely love my major, and I've been with my major since day one, which I know is pretty uncommon. So I definitely found something that I was really passionate about, and that I also learned how to be really confident in what I was learning, and knowing that what I'm speaking is educated and is what my professors are ultimately encouraging me to do. So that was definitely the biggest win there.
All right, Charlie.
I'm going to start with my biggest win because honestly, I'm still thinking of my biggest challenge. My biggest win was probably I had a solo exhibition of my work sophomore year, so that was kind of a special moment for me to see kind of my progress up until that point in its physical form in front of the university. So that was pretty phenomenal. I think my biggest challenge was coming from out of state. I didn't know a ton of people. You know, I had a couple of people from my high school, but none of my good friends. And it's a completely different culture from where I'm from, and a completely different weather and completely different everything. So that was a tough transition, but the people made it easy. Like, you know, you meet new people and they show you around and they teach you how to be a Montana kid pretty quick.
Awesome. Spencer?
Yeah, I kind of already touched on this last time I spoke, so I'll just kind of give you a mantra for like all like overcoming things. Like, just do you. Like, if you want to write a book, like write that book. Like, college is this awesome experience when you can just do what you're absolutely passionate about. And like, I'm a chemical engineer. That's super nerdy. Like, and I've just become that nerd and fully embraced it. And now I get to do that as a job, and I'm super excited about it. So just like, I think MSU is a great place where you can really just go forward and like grab the bull by the horns, to give a really bad cliche, for what you're passionate about.
All right. At this time, we are going to close out this session. I do want to give a special thanks to our students. They go in above and beyond. They're logging in from the comfort of their homes. I want to give a shout out to Spencer. This is the very last admissions responsibility he has over the course of all the years that he's been involved with us. So thank you, Spencer. Thank you all. At this time, we are going to end this session, but I encourage you to stay on the line. We are going to do a wrap up with admissions staff here in about 10 minutes or so. So make sure that you stay on the line. We're going to be back, and we're going to make sure to answer all of those last minute questions that you have before closing out the day. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Hi, everyone. We are going to get started in just a few minutes. We're going to give people the chance to log back on here, and we'll get started right at 3:30. Hi, everyone. We are going to get started here. To begin, this is our kind of staff panel. This is our wrap up. So you've kind of been with us all day. You've been participating in numerous sessions. Thank you so much for tuning in. At this time, we are going to open it up to just general questions to kind of close out the day. So continue to use that Q&A feature as you go, and we are going to begin by addressing those. Again, my name is Shannon. I'm an admissions counselor, so I am the one that visits a lot of high schools. I participate in college fairs, and I have the pleasure of welcoming students to campus when they do get the chance to visit. I know that we also have Anders Groseth on the line, if he wants to show his camera here.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being with us today. You've heard from me a lot. You're probably sick of me already, but I do appreciate y'all sticking around so late in the afternoon and again, staying engaged all day. This has been fantastic.
Awesome. To start, Anders, if you want to start with this question, when can I apply for fall 2020? So we've already done an excellent job kind of informing students throughout the day of what MSU looks like, and so they're eager to apply for next year.
Yeah, I'm glad the question came in. So Montana State University works on a rolling admissions process. And what that means is that unlike some of the other schools that you may engage with throughout your college search, we don't follow strict deadlines like some of those other institutions may on the front end or the back end of what typically end up being like application windows. Technically speaking, whenever a student feels comfortable filling out an application and applying for Montana State University, they're able to do so. It's not binding at our campus. So if you do end up applying early, our campus doesn't engage in any sort of like early decision or early action processes. Your college decision and your college search are your own. And we want you to know that we're here for you. We're an option for you. But if you go ahead and apply early, you're not signing your name on the dotted line. You're just sort of throwing us in your hat of options, essentially. So, you know, if it's been today or whatever your experience has been with our university, if you're to the point now that you feel like you want to fill out that application, we certainly do encourage you to do so, and we'll be here to help you out through every step of the process moving forward.
And I'm going to follow up on that and say as well that we've gotten a few questions throughout the day about the Leader's Edge application and what that really is, and if there are deadlines associated with that, maybe how it's different. Essentially, the Leader's Edge application is an application that we send out to students early if they haven't expressed interest in MSU, if we think they would be a really good fit. To clarify though, if you apply with a different application or if you don't meet one of those deadlines, you're always going to be coded as a Leader's Edge student. So you will always be given the benefits of Leader's Edge, regardless of when you apply and what application you fill out. So I know the Leader's Edge application is coming and we've been getting a lot of questions about that, but even if you want to apply today, you can, and you will still be given the benefits of Leader's Edge. The next question is, what are some major dates and deadlines for rising seniors? So maybe I'll start with this one, Anders, and then you can kind of fill in. So we do encourage students to apply early. We just kind of touched on the application process there. You can apply at any point moving forward. Following that, we do encourage you to start looking at scholarships and financial aid opportunities. You can start applying for scholarships pretty dang early, really whenever your senior year starts. Right around October 1st is when the FAFSA opens. If you're hoping to qualify for any of those need-based opportunities, we encourage you to complete the FAFSA between October and December 1st for priority consideration for any of those need-based opportunities. October 1st is also a big date for us because that is when our housing application opens. Housing is first come, first serve. So the earlier you apply for housing, the more likely you are to get those preferences, but it is not binding. And the action that we ultimately interpret as your intent to enroll is going to be signing up for orientation. Orientation opens as early as January for those summer sessions. So if you're super eager, you know you want to come to MSU, you can commit to MSU essentially as early as January of your senior year, and you just sit back and relax for the rest of your senior year. With that being said, of course, there are going to be a lot of other dates and deadlines that kind of come up, and we'll remind you of those. The biggest recommendation I have if you want to stay on top of things is to check your email, because we're really dang good about sending stuff out and reminding you guys of different dates and deadlines, but you have to read your email along the way. Anything I missed there, Anders, or anything that you kind of want to follow up with there?
No, Shan, I mean, honestly, I think you nailed the dates and the deadline side of things. What I would like to say is, you know, you mentioned financial aid, the scholarships, orientation, housing is another piece that plays into that. But kind of comboing what Shannon answered in this question and what I answered in the first one is that all of these steps that you can take, they're never going to be binding for you. So again, your college search is your own. And so, you know, these are sort of action items that you can take to let us know that you are increasingly more and more interested in enrolling. But again, it's never your name on the dotted line until you decide to put it there.
All right, the next question really shows that people are eager to get on campus with us. It is, when will you resume in-person visits so we can come and see you in person? This has been something that we've continually been monitoring and kind of working with MSU staff as well as state to figure out the best way of moving forward with in-person visits. We are going to make some modifications and some changes to what that visit might look like, but we are ultimately going to start welcoming students over this summer starting in about the next few weeks here. And then from there, we'll constantly be notifying students about what those changes look like. But we understand that many of you are trying to make plans and book plane tickets and really try to figure out what that looks like. So we are updating our information online too. So I encourage you to really check out our visit page after today if you want to schedule a campus visit. The next one, Anders, do you want to kind of speak to how can I qualify for the Weawy scholarship, or really what is the Weawy scholarship?
Certainly, yeah. So the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program, or WUI, the answer I'm about to give you is going to be specific for Montana State University, and that's where I think I should start with that. Many of you are going to engage with schools throughout your college search that are going to offer the WUI in some capacity or under some circumstances. At Montana State University, we use it as a merit-based scholarship, and so it's not an automatic program. However, it's also a scholarship that you don't have to apply for. At Montana State University, WUI is awarded it's assessed based off of a combination of a student's test scores, be they ACT or SAT, and their GPA. So this is merit and academically based. Now, the reason I wanted to say what I said earlier about how that's specific to Montana State University, Bozeman specifically. There are multiple MSU campuses across the state of Montana, and they're all going to award WUI differently. Some of them are automatic, and that can be the same for other schools across not just our state, but across our country as well, across our region. So it is an award program. You'll have your official test scores submitted into Montana State University. When you apply for admission, you'll report your GPA, and then when we start to award scholarships, those will automatically be awarded for students who end up qualifying. There isn't a year-to-year consistency in regards to what those merits are going to be. Those are assessed each year, and our scholarship platform or benchmarks, I suppose I should say, haven't been established for our upcoming academic year just yet.
And to kind of follow up, one of the best tools that I can encourage students to utilize is on our website, we have a merit calculator, and we update that merit calculator when our scholarship parameters roll for the upcoming year. So if you're trying to get just a general gauge of what scholarships were available to you, from previous years or upcoming scholarship opportunities, you can essentially plug in your GPA, plug in your test score, and it gives you an early estimate of your merit. So it's a super easy way for you to even just get a gauge as to how much MSU might cost for a student.
Shannon, can I hop back in on that? To build on what Shannon is saying, that is a fabulous resource. What we're talking about with WUI is available for our non-resident students that are coming from specific states across the Western United States. That merit calculator, it adjusts for both in-state and out-of-state students. So we're talking about a non-resident scholarship, but if you're from the state of Montana, please utilize that as well. That's a hugely resourceful piece.
This next question, Anders, I'm going to make you address because I think you have some really good insight here. What does academic advising look like? Is it assigned by major? When am I assigned an academic advisor? When do I first connect with them?
Yeah, thank you for this question. At Montana State University, the relationship that students have the opportunity to build with their academic advisors are among the most important that they can have throughout their college career. One of the benefits, and for those of you who are on the student panel, there was a lot of conversation about the size of the school and the size of the community that we're in, and how we're not too big and we're not too small. One of the things that's really nice about MSU still being as small as we are comparatively to other schools across the country is that we can still handle academic advising, and not that we can do it, we insist on doing it on an individual basis with every single student on our campus. So no matter what you're majoring in, be it engineering or a humanities program, or if you're just undecided and don't know what you want to major in yet, when you sign up for orientation, at your orientation session, that's going to be your first opportunity to interact with your academic advisor, to design your schedule of classes and end up registering for your fall semester. Then that academic advisor is somebody that you'll continue to work with throughout your entire college career. I had the same academic advisor for my orientation session until she signed my graduation paperwork. And so that individual experience is really important for us, because then they get to know you. They get to know, okay, they can look at you on a semester by semester basis and say, hey, Anders, you didn't do so well in your 8 o'clock classes last semester. Like, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. Okay, sounds good. You know, they get to know kind of what your ins and outs are from an academic perspective to help shape the successes of your academic career.
Anders didn't like those 8 a.m. classes, but I do echo what his sentiment there. I just got an email from my undergrad advisor on Tuesday. I am still in contact with her. I have a photo with her on graduation day. She was a huge support system and guidance to me in my undergrad. So I just very much so echo the impact that those advisors have. With that, we do have a question about if you are unable to take the ACT or SAT as a result of the COVID and what the current plan is there. So I can kind of take that one. If you are unable to take a standardized exam right now as a result of the COVID, we do still encourage you to apply early. We can admit you without finalized test scores. With that being said, we do encourage you to take either the ACT, SAT if possible, because we do require official test scores for scholarship consideration. So if you're hoping to qualify for the Weawy or an achievement award or our in-state premier scholarship, we are going to encourage you to take the ACT or SAT. With that, we always consider one's highest composite score. So if you do take it multiple times, we will always continue to consider the highest overall score for both admissions and scholarship purposes. All right, for this, Anders, since you were kind of our captain for the day, if I missed a live session earlier, how can I catch up? Are these sessions recorded? I want to show my parents.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. Because while I was the captain until I asked that question earlier today, I didn't know the answer to that. Aside from, you heard from Shannon and I in these last couple of sessions, you heard from Molly from our office earlier. There's a whole team that really pulled this program together today. And one of the people that I specifically want to shout out is a guy named Max Hamburger. Max Hamburger is, he's one of our coworkers, apparently, according to Shannon. He's just off camera. But I asked him earlier if this is being recorded. That live stream, we recorded the entire thing today, and Max was sort of, he was tossing around 2 different ideas. We have everything recorded, and it's going to be available for future viewing. He was going to either timestamp things, so if you wanted to go back and watch specifically the Residence Life session, or you wanted to catch Molly's MSU Basics, you can go specifically to a timestamp. He also had the idea of possibly just splicing these up so that each session lived on its own, essentially as an individual recording. So I know that he was playing around with a couple of those different ideas, but long story short, they will be recorded. They will be on this website again for future viewing for yourself or family members or all your friends that you also want to encourage to come to Montana State University. You want them to watch. This will all be available for you. And again, thank you, Max, and thank you to the admissions counselor team. This has been a cool experience.
Awesome, thank you, Anders. So this next one I'm happy to address. It essentially is kind of what's the rundown on housing, what's the 411, I missed the Residence Life panel. So essentially housing and that application goes live October 1st for that following fall. It is first come, first serve. So the earlier you apply for housing, the more likely you are to be given those preferences. When you go onto that housing application, you have the option of listing your top 5 housing preferences, and then you can either fill out a survey that assigns you a roommate based on compatibility, or you can request a roommate. So to kind of Anders' point, if you bring all your friends with you, you can request each other. And then with that, you also fill out your dining preferences there too. And so we have some different meal plan options. We have a 5-day meal plan or a 7-day meal plan. And so as you go throughout that housing application, you're kind of looking and doing some research and figuring out what is the best fit for you. You submit that housing application, and then right around March or April of every single year, we start sending out those notifications. So you do find out pretty early in the spring as to where you are going to be living, who your roommate is, and that's really where it kind of becomes your own mission. Students are adding each other on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on TikTok, whatever you guys do these days, they're getting connected. And so that's really kind of a cool and organic way of seeing students connect pretty early on because they already know who's in their residence halls and already know who they're going to be living with. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Anders, a little bit about the residence life process.
No, I think you nailed it. I think you know, just as you become more and more comfortable and sort of think that you can see yourself being a part of one of MSU's freshman classes, just know that process does sort of open consistently each year. So it's not binding. I know you've heard me say that a lot, but it is just another step that you can take to sort of become a part of this community as you feel ready to do so.
Awesome. This next question is, after applying, how long does it typically take before we find out we are accepted?
Yeah, so in our office, we aim to have a 2-week, 10 business day turnaround time. So from the day that you submit that application to the day that we want you holding your acceptance letter to throw it up on the fridge or put it in your filing cabinet or whatever the case may be, we want you to know right as quickly as we possibly can to let you know, okay, you've been accepted to Montana State University. So you have us as an option. So if that continues to move forward throughout a college search, or if we're the one school that you want to apply to, and then you can move forward from there. You sort of know, okay, MSU's got me, and I can continue moving forward in any direction possible with, you know, scholarships, financial aid, the housing that we were just talking about, whatever that might be.
Awesome. I am also going to ask you this question, Anders, as the director of orientation. How does registering for classes work?
Yeah, so I was talking earlier, Shannon asked me that question earlier, that we both kind of spoke to the value of the academic advising process. So once a student registers for an orientation session, one of those kind of action steps towards enrollment, you sign up for an orientation program. At orientation, you'll meet with an academic advisor. And then when you meet with that academic advisor, they'll help shape what your individual schedule is going to be. We don't do cookie cutter approaches at Montana State University. We want you to have a unique academic experience. And so every single person is going to have a different schedule, even if you have the exact same major as somebody else on your floor or another one of your classmates. Your schedules are going to look a little bit different. And so when you meet with your academic advisor, they'll help shape that schedule of classes, and they'll give you what's called a registration pin. And then our university utilizes a program called CAT Course. And CAT Course is an online tool in which students can go in. And what I've heard it explained as, and I actually really like this, it's sort of like buying a plane ticket. You go into CAT Course, you list all the different courses that you want to register for, and then you hit generate schedules. And it's going to bring you up about 500 schedules that you get to choose the one that's best for you. Maybe you've built in a break because you know that your student employment opportunity is going to be over this hour each day. You can build in breaks. When you hit that generate schedules, you can just kind of thumb through them and figure out, okay, my academic advisor told me I wasn't good at 8 o'clock classes. We have already learned that about me. So I can kind of build out breaks, or I can identify schedules that don't have many of those early morning or late afternoon classes, whatever works best for you and your learning style. And then when you find one, you'll click that whole schedule. So you don't have to individually register for each course. You just click an entire schedule all at once and hit register, and then it takes you from there. So it's, again, that relationship between your academic advisor and you, and then utilizing what you've learned from them into an online tool.
Awesome. Thanks for taking that one. This next one, if I apply for a residence hall, and then you submit it, and then you move forward, and then you find a roommate, can you go back and add their name? Yes, you can. So essentially you have a housing portal. And so you can go back in after you've submitted that housing application, access your housing portal, and request each other. We do like to note that it does have to be a mutual request. So both of you have to go back in and request each other. It can't simply be one student requesting someone else. And that's really where I would like to plug some of our social media opportunities. Students are using our class of 2024 Facebook group, as well as our class of 2024 Instagram page pretty frequently. And so they're going on and saying, hey, I'm Shannon, I'm from Missoula, I'm studying education, I love to ski, I love to hike, and that's a really easy way to make connections too. So I do encourage you to get on early and just kind of see the type of student that you might be able to connect with. And that's typically where we do see some students finding out they really like someone, going back in and requesting a roommate after that housing application has been submitted.
Cool.
This next one, Anders, is really fun. It basically asks us our favorite things to do in Bozeman, our favorite things to eat, what do we like to do in different seasons, favorite hikes. I'll let you start since you're from the area.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a Bozeman guy, born and raised. Bozeman's been my hometown for my entire life. My favorite things to do here, we do live in a playground, legitimately. If you like hiking or biking, there's 80 miles of trails that are within the Bozeman city limits that are aimed to take you out of the Bozeman city limits. So that exploratory mindset, we talk about it a lot in all of our promotional pieces. But it's not just an MSU thing, that's a Bozeman thing. We really want people to engage with the community and our surroundings. So anything outdoors that you might want to do, that's a phenomenal opportunity. You're speaking to somebody who is not super outdoorsy. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you on that. One of the things that I like about Bozeman that has changed a lot since I grew up here is that kind of cultural aspect of our community. Shannon, you mentioned what are the things that you like to eat? We have a phenomenal culinary.
I was going to say, Anders Groseth is going to talk all about different kinds of restaurants here.
Yeah, I could really get singularly minded here. But live music is a passion of mine. We have great spots to go and catch concerts. There is great food. There's visual and performing arts communities, and the word community is one of the most important things that I think Bozeman can kind of hang its hat on. Again, for anybody who is logged in for the student panel, one of the things that Charlie mentioned is it's the people. We just don't let you be on your own. You're immediately a part of this community. If you came from 4 blocks up the road like I did, or if you come from halfway around the world, you'll engage with people in this community that don't have anything to do with Montana State, but they want to know who you are, what you're studying, what are you interested in. And so the things that are fun to do in this community might not be on your radar yet. It's something that you'll learn about yourself as you go. So I'm trying to think broadly so I just don't talk about restaurants. But I will give a specific plug. If you like Italian food, Blacksmith Italian, that's going to be my favorite spot. They do a $10 meatball and spaghetti on Monday nights. Can't really beat that. So that's my plug.
Anders is quite the foodie. I'll kind of mention something that I think has kind of been highlighted throughout various presentations, but everyone talks about Bozeman in the winter. I think Bozeman in the summer is the best season. When it is beautiful weather, right around 80, 90 degrees every day, perfectly sunny, you can go hiking, you can go sit out on a patio and get a drink with your friends, you can go on a walk downtown. There's so many different events throughout the summer, including Music on Main, which is a concert series that we host every single Thursday. There's so much to do in the summer. And if I had one recommendation for you guys as incoming students, is at least one summer throughout your 4 years, you need to stick around Bozeman because it's fun. Your friends stick around. You can get an apartment with a group of friends and have a heck of a time. All right, this next question is, when will I hear about my scholarship offer? Kind of when does that come to be? Do you want to address that one, Anders?
Yeah, so that changes every year. Like I was saying earlier when we were talking about Weawy, we haven't established our scholarship parameters for this upcoming year. Shani, and you can correct me, you're more in this realm than I am, but we usually try and aim at having scholarship considerations put together in October or November so that students who have applied early, students who might have applied going into their senior year or early on in their senior year, again, we want to put as much information on your plate as possible, not to overwhelm you, but to help inform your decision. We want you to know everything about how your experience will line up with Montana State University in terms of being accepted, what your financial packages are, your opportunities for degree programs, and everything else along those lines. So Shannon, please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's usually late October, November that students will start to hear about their award packages.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. If you apply anytime moving forward up until October and November, it'll be right around October and November that you are notified. If you apply anytime after October or November, it's essentially, they inform you right around the time that you receive your acceptance packet, right? So super clear, very transparent. You hear right within about 2 weeks or so. And that's where we do encourage students to continue to send us improved test scores and improved GPA, because we can continue to roll those scholarships every 2 weeks if you keep sending us new and improved info. All right, at this time, we are going to kind of wrap up here. Anders, is there anything that you want to say as we close out the day?
What I just want to say is thank you to all of our campus partners who have helped pull this together. As students and parent and family members can probably imagine, this was no small feat for us. We've made some big adjustments on this campus in the last just several months. And what I hope is coming across is the passion and the effort that not just our office, but people from across this campus have for our students, our current students, our prospective students. We really want to make sure that we are putting forth our best effort, and I hope that that really does come across. But as much as I want to thank all of our campus partners, I really, really want to thank you, everybody who's been tuning in. I said this, the very first thing is this MSU Friday is all about you. We want to give you our best, and we want to show you what your opportunities are at Montana State University, and we truly do appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And with that, I'll kind of wrap up this session with a few logistics. As it has been mentioned, we are recording all of these presentations. Feel free to go back, after this weekend. You can tune in, rewatch some of those sessions, maybe sit down with your parents and watch some of those recorded information presentations. We all also are constantly on our emails and phones. We are here to help you. Please reach out to us. And then, as mentioned, we are going to start resuming in-person visits here shortly. So if in the fall or if next spring it makes sense to come visit us and see us in person, we would love to welcome you to campus. So with that, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you logging in. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.